Hello and welcome to the Red Pill News Dispensary, formerly, more recently known as the Red Pill Dispensary, here with the Red Pill. So I've been promising you guys a bombshell story, and this is the exact type of stuff that I was looking for, with the obvious huge distraction, affecting all of our lives. This is the perfect time that all of a sudden proof of, some people are calling this the number that you call in the emergency, that date. It's calling it the number 2, the second time. And we know what happened after the first one. We lost our rights through the Patriot Act, and we see the same type of daily fear tactics being used again today. Now, does that mean that either one of them didn't actually happen? No. But does it mean that there might have not been certain aspects planned because there was foreknowledge of it? And that, what do they say? Never waste a good disaster. So I have proof, indefinitive proof, that the original report put out by the NISC, that was not widely accepted. We've all seen our share of videos from I keep checking to make sure I feel like I'm going to be cut. That we've heard the different architects take a look at this and explain why this can't be possible. But you know what? That's just one person, sometimes not one person, many architects signing petitions. And well, a group of architects actually did get together from different universities around the country. They all contributed. They were funded. And this has been a report that they've been working on for the past 4.5 years. They started work on this back in May of 2015. So you do the math, right? So about 4.5 years. And they finally just released it a couple days ago. Or a few days ago. And I got it right away. I started reading it. And this is legit. This is totally legit. While everybody's talking about, this is, I've said this a million times on this channel, but this video might attract some new subscribers or new viewers that, haven't seen me before. But, we all know how it goes. Watch the White Rabbit, while the other hand, either in this situation, my next video will be going over the many things that they are doing behind the scenes, as well as you know, basically things that were known before. But you know what? This video is not about that. That's the whole point. I'm not even going to try to get sidetracked. The only aspect of what's going on right now that I'm going to apply to this report is the fact that it's a perfect time to put it out. That's it. We're strictly going to be talking about Whiskey Tango Charlie 7. I'm sure you guys get that. I mean, you guys saw the title of this video as well as the thumbnail, so you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, and I want to jump right into it. I also want to, there's so many different things that I'm going to be showing you guys. I'm going to be showing you guys some of the things that they were saying in the original report. I have, by the way, if you want to follow along, I have the full report. Just go into the description and you will find the full report downloadable. If there's any problem with that link, I'll just provide another link. Also down there, you'll see ways to donate. Best way to donate to this channel is PayPal, by the way, if anybody wishes to do so. But I understand these are tough times for everybody. So if you can, if you're in a position where you can, that's all. So I want to get right into it. So let's do this. And by the way, for those of you guys who are new, this is a live house, you know. You can judge me how you want by my authenticity, but it's one of the things that I kind of, you know, I think that people appreciate. But you'll hear noise in the background from my daughter and things like that. So with that, let's continue. Oh, what just happened? Oh, wow, huh? All right. So here's some information that I have on this. This is a structural reevaluation of the collapse of World Trade Center 7. The lead researchers are J. Leroy Halsey. By the way, a bunch of, like I said, a bunch of architects from around the country that finally got together and said, you know what, we're going to really look into this. And they did. I mean, they had a budget, not a huge budget, about $1/3 of $1/3 million. Architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth. They're the ones who did most of the funding. Actually, so that's just the funding from them. So the funding actually might be a lot more than just the $1/3 million there. Project team, we have Fang Zhou, associate professor at Nanjing University of Science and Technology, which at first gave me some pause, you know. But then we also another Zil Kwan, bridge engineer, South Carolina Department of Transportation. And there's many others as well. These are just the main guys. And J. Leroy Halsey, who I have a page up. We'll look into him as well. Let's see what else we got. First of all, this is a study. This is a study of the collapse of World Trade Center Building 7, WT7, a 47-story building that suffered a total collapse at 5:20 on September 11, 2001, following the horrible events of that morning. The objective of the study was threefold. One, examined the structural response of WTC 7 to fire loads that may have occurred on September 11, 2001, which, by the way, the NISC attributed the collapse to for the most part. Rule out scenarios. 2, rule out scenarios that could not have caused the observed collapse. And 3, identify types of failures and their locations that may have caused the total collapse to occur as observed. So they didn't try to take a I appreciate that they didn't take a conspiratorial or a like a opposition type of view as far as their objectives. They have sound objectives that will bring you sound results. It's just from what they know, they knew something was up. But when you do something like this, that obviously costs a lot of money to do this. Wait until you guys see how extensive this report is. You got to do it right. So the UAF, and that's the name. By the way, that's the spearhead of all the colleges involved was actually the University of Alaska, Fairbanks. Research team utilized 3 approaches for examining the structural response of WT7 to the conditions that may have occurred on September 11, 2001. First, we simulated the local structural response to fire loading that may have occurred below floor 13, where most of the fires in WT7 are reported to have occurred. Second, we supplemented our own simulation by examining the collapse initial hypothesis developed by this is the NIST, by the way, National Institute of Standards and Technology. Third, we simulated a number of scenarios within the overall structural system in order to determine what types of local failures and their locations may have caused the collapse to occur as observed. The principal conclusion of our study is that fire did not cause the collapse of World Trade Center 7 on 9/11. I repeat, the principal conclusion of our study is that fire did not cause the collapse of World Trade Center on 9/11, World Trade Center 7 on 9/11, contrary to the conclusions of the NIST and private engineering firms studied the collapse. The secondary conclusion of our study is that the collapse of WTC7 was a global failure involving the near simultaneous failure of every column in the building. Now, if that sounds like almost another language to you outside of that first sentence, we'll be going through it all thoroughly. We have everything here. So let's begin. First, I want to show you guys actual footage. Well, first, I'm just going to play this quick. This is from a video I did yesterday, but I just want to play one little clip that kind of caught. What is this? Is this a that's the wrong one. I'm sorry, wrong one. What is all this? It's like that's odd. Okay. Just listen to the president yesterday.
Little bit, but it's still a tremendous number of families being ruined, lives being ruined. It's an incredible thing, especially if you're at this position. You never believe it. I see things that nobody would believe. I see reports that nobody would believe. So I met with.
Is this one of the many reports he's speaking about that people wouldn't believe? I think so. All right, so let's continue here. We're gonna I have so much. All right, so you know what? I think a good place to start. Before I show you the document, I'll show you guys some of the key findings that I took away from this. As well as I did talk to a source. I talked to a source as well that let me see. A source who has been to this location multiple times over the years. And I did speak to a source as well, who told me something that actually supports what was found in this report. So before I show you the full report, I'll give you some of my key takeaways because it's a long, extensive report. My key takeaway, let me enlarge this for you. This is a study of the collapse of World Trade Center, Building 7, World Trade Center 7, a 47-story building that suffered a total collapse at 5:20. I think actually, let me see. So yeah, this is we already went over this part. I'm sorry, I meant to. Okay, here we go. Here's my stuff. So Dr. Halsey and his team released the final report last week. I believe it was actually March 26th, but there wasn't. You don't see, especially on YouTube, you don't see many people talking about it at all. I saw one video talking about it when I searched certain keywords. So released the final report last week, while the bulk of the world was focused on that. While the timing is poor, this report has been planned for release for many months. You can download and read the report at the above link, which again is right here. So I did put that in there. If there's any problems with that, just let me know. I'll just I'll repost the link. I'll even do it in the live chat as well. In other words, demolition charges, just like many have been saying for years. This is what they prove. And if WT7 was a demolition, it speaks encyclopedias about the first two towers. We felt that the day it happened, didn't we? The first words that fell out of my mouth when a friend turned on the TV that morning were, they did it themselves. I stand by that, whoever they are / were. And I put were for a key reason, because I do believe that arrests will be happening before this election and not too close to this election. Big, tall buildings, that has nothing to do with it. That might be the reason for the timing of the release, but I think this is going to be the kind of drip of big time stories and reports coming out. Big, tall buildings that suffer structural failure fall over, not straight down. Now, again, this is just me kind of taking my limited knowledge and from the report, which has extensive knowledge from people who have degrees in this field. Yes, they do, especially those with big holes on both sides. Plus, no matter what anybody says, they fell particularly in their own footprints. People want to say it, they didn't, because of some buildings that were damaged a couple of blocks away and right around the towers. When you have the two buildings, you know what? I don't even want to get into those. We're going to stick to WT7. there is a reason when there is a legit building demolition, the area is cleared around the building for ever how many blocks for the engineers calculate how far the debris could travel. Which, as we saw, you heard, we've all heard some of those videos where they're saying, "Hey, they even you hear out of their mouths, they're gonna demo this building, and then all of a sudden a report comes out saying something to the contrary. Did the planes hit them? I'm not, like I said, I'm not even going to get into this. The only true surprise here is that an academic study is even required in order to confirm that a building can collapse into its own footprint through isolated areas of fire on one side, and then mysteriously waited 4.45. That's actually hours to do so, which also happens to be the same exact amount of years that this report took, 4.5. Just about 1 month off, but pretty close. Actually, no, I think it's exact because it's December to May. So yeah, 4.5. Yeah. Let's see. If they didn't okay, so that's something that we're gonna get into later from a source. And I think it's better we get into that after, actually, just because I want you guys to see this actual report. So here it is. A structural reevaluation of the collapse of World Trade Center 7. Now, is the link working that I left you guys? Is that link? Is that anyone try the link in the description yet? Let me see if I can. By the way, we're gonna give a list of all the different companies, agencies, everything that were in that building, exactly what floor they were on, all of that. So, like I said, this is a very long, so 125 pages just on their final report. And that was actually narrowed down. It's many more pages of just like straight data. But let's just kind of skim through it for now. Yeah, hopefully that link works. Like I said, if anyone could just let me know if that link does not work. So here's the abstract. There's so much here. Peer reviews. Gregory Solzinski, PhD, Chartered Consulting Engineer, Analyst Service Company. Robert Carroll, PhD, Emeritus Professor of Civil Engineering, McMaster University. They'd like to thank Dr. Larry Hinsman, Vice Chancellor for Research, University of Alaska Fairbanks. College of Engineering and Mines, the Department of Civil Environmental Engineering, CEE. You know what? Let me get this full screen. Okay. Yeah, Tony, I expect some weird stuff to go on during this video. All right. Now I can take this. All right, here we go. There's a couple of things on this. I mean, that's a loaded document. We're gonna get to everything, but list of tenants, by the way. Here's who was in there. According to the New York Times and NBC News, one of the federal agencies listed below was incorrect, as it was used as a front for the CIA. So we have a lot of Solomon Birth Barney on many floors, especially at the top. You have four floors with nothing listed there. But right above that, if you look, you'll see Department of Defense, CIA, right? And right below them, 2 floors below them, on number 23, which is, maybe a coincidence, right? Check that out. NYC Office of Emergency Management. And we'll be getting into that more as well. The U.S. Secret Service, Standard Chartered Bank, and U.S. Secret Service again. So they had 2 floors. And if you look at this by square foot leased, Solomon Smith Barney. By the way, it's kind of funny, Solomon. But anyways, they seem to be the number one. And then you have the IRS, Internal Revenue Service, Regional Council, U.S. Secret Service, American Express Bank International, Standard Chartered Bank, Provident Financial Management, ITT, Hartford Insurance Group, First State Management Group. Now, I'm not sure why. Maybe they're out of business. Federal Home Loan Bank, NAIC Securities and Exchange Commission, and once again, like I was pointing out, the New York City Office of Emergency Management, which is where, they might have moved it, obviously, even if this building did not go down, because of obvious reasons with, it being so close, and just the potential of something else happen. They might have moved the Office of Emergency Management, but they didn't really have to make that decision, did they? Now, again, are you guys able to download? Are you guys able to click on? Hey, Joe Shields in Boston. How you doing, brother? Hey, are you guys able to click on in the description? You guys able to click on the link for the full report? I want you guys to be able to have that, so you can read along once we get to it, or if you just want to check it out while we go. Although I recommend you check out some of the stuff I'm showing you first. I'm kind of building a whole story here. Let's see. Oh, that's gonna be some okay. This here. Also, definitely worth pointing out something that a lot of us know. 50 days before 9/11, Frank Lowry and Larry Silverstein bought the World Trade Center in New York. How unlucky was that? At a time when there was a requirement for massively expensive renovation and asbestos removal from the buildings. So there was a lot of, let's say, renovations going on. And that's going to be coming into, we're going to be going over a lot of that as well. Especially when you look at some of the things that I got from a source. To maintain the Trade Center as a Class A office space commanding top rents, the Port Authority, the previous owners, would have had to spend $800 million rebuilding the electronic communication, and cooling systems. The removal of asbestos raised the figure to well in excess of $1 billion. So it's like, it's like buying a house and trying to fix it up and flip it. Except that house is the World Trade Center, and it's almost at the point where I think you guys can figure out the end of that sentence. Okay, I'm just trying to be a little bit careful. It doesn't matter. I'm saying enough that it's going to be flagged and not shared unless you're a subscriber. Especially by the time I'm done. For now, it might be. The removal of okay, I'm sorry. Lowry and Silverstein double insured the World Trade Center for multiple terrorist attacks, meaning they could claim for the same damage twice if twice the planes or attacks were involved. Now that is, to double insure, well, there's two of them. So, they never do anything where it's too obvious afterwards, because they could just say, yeah, we double insure because there's two of them. I don't know if that's how it works, but we'll see. And collected, check this out, $4.577 billion for WTCs 1, 2, 4, and 5, and $861 million for WTC 7, totaling $5.438 trillion. Right? Trillion. Yeah. $5.438 trillion. This man is obviously a business genius or something. Compared to, let's just say, the other two, few people have seen video footage of the collapse of the 47th. Well, I'm talking the truth is, so I'm not going to say few, but a lot of you may not have, of the 47-story WTC Building 7. But the event was predicted and recorded by at least 3 TV networks and exactly resembles a controlled demolition. That's not what the NIST found in their official report. But now we just had another report dropped by this group of architects from around the country. And we finally have some actual truth coming out. The event was subject to a news blackout by commercially controlling media for years afterwards. No mention of WTC 7 was made in the 9/11 Commission's final report. And Wikipedia has no separate page for this event. You'll find separate pages for it, but you know what? That's actually pretty true. Wikipedia was not very helpful in my research at all. David Cohen was appointed there in 97, left in 2000. All right, so that truth letter, we're actually gonna go over some stuff from that exact website where I found that. Again, list of tenants. Actually, that might be a double. So I'm gonna go this way. Why do I have this? Where did this come from? Why do I have that up? I never even pulled that up. Stand by. Okay, first I want you guys to hear NIST, why the building fell. Don't take this as exact truth now that it's been debunked, but I just want you guys to see what their take on it was after doing their report.
New York City, 2001. No tall building had ever collapsed primarily due to fire. But that's exactly what investigators believe happened to the 47-story World Trade Center Building 7 on September 11th. According to a 3-year comprehensive building and fire safety investigation just completed by the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST.
World Trade Center 7 collapsed because of fires. We really have a new kind of progressive collapse that we have discovered here, which is a fire-induced progressive collapse. In fact, we've shown for the first time that fire can induce a progressive collapse.
NIST used detailed data describing the building and its contents to create the most complex computer simulation of a structural collapse ever made.
Did you guys hear that about how the fire made it collapse? We'll be touching on that.
In the lower half of WTC 7, disabled sprinklers in the lower half of break in the city water main from the collapse of the towers, disabled a break in the city water main from the collapse of the from Tower 1, from Tower simulation of a structure collapse ever made.
What happened to the volume?
Falling debris from Tower 1 started fires on 10 floors in Building 7. A break in the city water main from the collapse of the towers, disabled fire safety investigation just completed by the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or TENS, to create the most complex computer
progressive collapse. And in fact, we've shown for the first time that fire can induce a progressive collapse.
NIST used detailed data describing the building and its contents. Lower half of WTC 7. Exactly what investigators believe happened.
Wait. So what happened to the audio? They don't want to stand by those words anymore. Do you guys see that? The audio all of a sudden just goes away. All I do is unplug my mic, audio plays. For some reason, that's not happening. It was working.
Happened to the 47-story World Trade Center Building 7 on September 11th. According to a 3-year comprehensive building and fire safety investigation just completed by the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST.
World Trade Center 7 collapsed because of fires. We really have a new kind of progressive collapse that we have discovered here, which is a fire-induced progressive collapse. In fact, we've shown for the first time that fire can induce a progressive collapse.
NIST used detailed data describing the building and its contents to create the most complex computer simulation of a structure collapse ever made. Falling debris from Tower 1 started fires on 10 floors in Building 7. A break in the city water main from the collapse of the towers disabled sprinklers in the lower half of WTC 7, allowing fires on those floors to burn for 7 hours. The NIST computer model was validated with evidence from videos, photos, witness accounts, and other data. It shows that heat from fires expanded long support beams, causing connections and floors to fail.
So you look at the floors failing here, and eventually this column 79 is going to buckle. It fails, and then the entire vertical progression takes place.
The buckled column caused additional collapsed floors and falling debris that removed support from adjacent interior columns. A chain reaction then caused other interior columns to fail in quick succession. The outside shell of the building fell. The NISC team found no evidence that explosives were involved in the collapse.
And our analysis showed that even the smallest explosive charge that was capable of bringing down the critical column in the building, had it occurred, we would have seen sound levels of 120 to 130 decibels about half a mile away. That would have been an incredibly loud sound, and that sound was not picked up by any of the videos or witnesses that we have talked to.
The team found that World Trade Center 7's design was generally consistent with the relevant building codes when it was built.
Our high-rise buildings in this country are very, very safe. Having a collapse of this nature is a very rare event.
Nevertheless, to ensure that buildings do not collapse in fires, even when sprinklers fail or are not present, the NISC team urges reevaluation of the fire performance of structures with long-span floors and other design elements similar to WTC 7. The team's report also calls for stronger codes, standards, and practices so that other buildings don't suffer the same fate.
And you know, I am so happy how many times they mentioned fire being the reason, you know, coming from the other towers. But we're just focusing on 7 here. I am so happy how many times, if anyone just joining, that was the official report. Well, now we have a new report. Go, like I said, if you guys go to the description, make sure that link works for me. If you guys can let me know right now. Now, I just want to point out, first of all, before I get into this, the source that I have, who was there multiple times over the years and aware of what was happening. Not why, but what was happening. And by the way, the information given by the source, they had not yet seen the report. So it actually matches. It would make sense according to the new report that actually shows the truth. So if they didn't retrofit them to demo and fall, the buildings would have sunk through the ground and water would have come up, and 3 million would have died, which was the plan of the deep state. And the others did the demo retrofit to avoid many people from dying. So according to this source, this retrofit was done to avoid further deaths. You can take from that what you will. If it was meant to fall the way it fell to save lives, the walls were lined with demo lining explosives to make sure it fell the way it did. That is again supported, or that, especially that line right there, is supported in this report. Let's get to the report. Although I did want to show you, it's almost like some videos disappeared on me. What's the tenants? Oh, yeah. Again, IRS, Secret Service, CIA, American Express, NIC Securities, Mayor's Office of Emergency Management, Securities and Exchange Commission. So here is the actual report. Again, I just want to make sure that you guys had that link. I'll drop another link just in case. So the link that I put does work. All right, good. So in the description, the link should work. I'm not sure if this one will work perfectly. Let me see. It should. It should. You guys can just copy and paste that link, or like I said, in the description, along with the donations, you'll find a link. It should work for you. So let's go through it together. All right. So again, if you guys caught my poster earlier, this is a red pill that is prescribed in many doses. It's a long read. There's some key components. There's some, they go over everything you can think of in here. Everything you can think of. Let me see what else. There's a certain one. A lot of data here. Oh, and then you take a look here. This is some stuff that was looked at by the UAF as opposed to the original report, the NIST. So floor framing, steel connections, springs, UAF, yes. NIST, only partially did they go into that. Whereas UAF went into every aspect of that, as you'll see in the report. I've been reading this report for days. So exterior steel framing connections included springs, and yes for the UAF and no for the NIST. Girder to column stiffener plates at column 79, which I would really look into that. That's a big deal right there. Again, yes and no for the NIST. Sounds like they did selective research that we wouldn't be able to tell, the difference, but this group of architects who funded with their own money and really went through all this trouble over the past 4.5 years, they knew there were certain things purposely skipped. So floors, composite with beams, not major girders. Well, the NSC did actually cover that along with the UAF. Floors, composite with beams and girders. Now, again, the difference between these two are not major girders, whereas this one, they do go into the girders, major girders. And that's a no for the NIST. Thermal expansion of the concrete deck, yes for the UAF and no for the NIST. Thermal conductivity and expansion of material properties, very, very important. Yes for the UAF, no for the NIST. So it just shows the you can call it incompetence. Others might call it being a little bit more selective about certain things that could kind of give away what really happened. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to skip down to some of their final findings, because I know this is like another language to a lot of us. But as I do that, I just want to give you guys an idea of the extensive data in here. So let's see. We'll go here. Actually, this is pretty interesting. As table 2.3, which is what we just looked at, illustrates, we took several steps in our modeling of WTC7 that NIST did not take. These steps enabled us to more accurately simulate the building's behavior and to consider conflicting assumptions regarding the as-built conditions of the building. 1. During our non-linear connection study, we discovered that NIST overestimated the rigidity of the outside frame by not modeling its connections, essentially treating the exterior steel framing as thermally fixed, which caused all thermally induced floor expansion to move away from the exterior. The exterior steel framing was actually flexible, while the stiffest area resistant to thermal movements, i.e. the point of zero thermal movement, was near the center of the building. Therefore, during our analysis of WTC7's response to fire loading, we found the overall thermal movement at A2001 base plate support at column 79 was not sufficient to displace girder A2001 to the point that it walked off its seat, whereas NIST asserted that the differential westward displacement of girder A2001 relative to column 79 was 5.5 inches and later revised its calculation to 6.25 inches. We found that the westward displacement of girder A2001 relative to column 7 would have been less than 1 inch under the fire conditions as reported by NIST. The little relative displacement is justified as the building was constructed as a composite beam structure where the concrete slabs and steel elements were connected with Nelson studs. Therefore, even if the connections between some steel elements were broken, steel elements were still held together by the studs to the concrete slabs. All this is huge, and when they come to their final findings, by the way. So chapter 3.0, evaluation of NIST's collapse initiation hypothesis. You guys can go through all this. I like to get to the. It's just so much here. Like I said, you know what I want to do? So as you can see, by really going through it like this, I want to show you. You guys know what they're talking about, and they put a lot of work into the smallest details. This is very well done. It's more extensive than what NIST put out, which is why the results they came to are truthful and not misleading. Let's check that image. Here's floors 17 to 47 falling uniformly as a unit. This is from CBS. Summary and conclusion. In summary, now this is, you want to listen to this part. In summary, several findings were made from the analysis above. Columns 79, 80, and 81 did not fail at the lower floors of the building. Instead, they needed to have failed at the upper floors of the building all the way to the penthouse. Yet, there were no documented fires above floor 30. This is something that I've heard before, but this is full of data, and it shows you exactly why this is a big deal. Therefore, fire did not cause the collapse of columns 79, 80, and 81, nor the collapse of the east penthouse, which I'm pretty sure in that video they actually said exactly that. The hypothetical failure, again, hypothetical failure of column 79, 80, and 81, the three easternmost core columns would not trigger a horizontal progression of core column failures. Therefore, the hypothesis of NIST, Rupp/Nordenson, and Weidlinger that the buckling of column 79 would trigger a progressive collapse of the entire building are invalid. And the collapse of columns 79, 80, and 81 high in the building was a separate and distinct event. Even if we assume the failure of columns 79, 80, and 81 could lead to the failure of the next row of columns, the hypothetical failure of columns 76 to 81 would overload the exterior columns around the southeast corner of the building, rather than overloading the next row of core columns to the west, which will result in the building tipping to the southeast and not in a straight down collapse. So basically, they're disproving that first of all, these upper floors, that what NIST, what they're saying was the case. And just to add in, they're saying even that if, let's say we just believe what they said, even though they proved it not to be true, that wouldn't result in the type of fall that we saw. And I'm going to show you some different angles of the fall. It would actually cause the building to fall to the southeast, which actually correlates with what the source I had said, that this was controlled, but in a way to save lives. So you can take that for what you want. So again, it would result in the building tipping to the southeast and not in a straight down collapse. 4, the simultaneous failure of all core columns over 8 stories followed 1.3 seconds later by the simultaneous failure of all exterior columns over 8 stories, produces almost exactly the behavior observed in the videos of the collapse. The collapse could have started at the various floors, starting at floor 17 below, and produced the same behavior. It is our conclusion that the collapse of World Trade Center 7 was a global failure involving the near simultaneous. Now, if you understand, they're saying it's not just that, it's a global, meaning the whole building. Again, global failure, like the whole building, involving the near simultaneous failure of all columns in the building, and not a progressive collapse involving the sequential failure of columns throughout the building. Despite simulating a number of hypothetical scenarios, we were unable to identify any progressive sequence of failures that could have taken place on that date right there and caused a total collapse of the building, let alone the observed straight down collapse with this approximately 2 seconds of free fall and minimal differential movement of the exterior, which is exactly what you see in that fall. So that is their final conclusion right there. And that is what we call truth, people. The truth of World Trade Center 7. We knew it all along. We've heard architects saying this exact same thing. Not all of that at once, but different parts of it have now been proven. And again, this study was done over 4.5 years, funded by, self-funded, but also they had a lot of contributions from like the, what is it? I want to make sure it's the right 9/11. Oh, here's another. Okay. Like I said, I want to focus on Tower 7 here. So you guys can feel free to pause and check out some of this information anytime you want. Looks like FEMA lied. They called people that were right. As right now, we know the truth through this report. As fantasies, conspiracy idiots, morons, and charge that they believe that the Bush regime is capable of magic. Well, maybe that's accurate, but if you replace that last C in magic with a K, maybe you have a different result.
World Trade Center 7 collapsed because of.
Now, knowing what we know, that there's no way that fire could have caused this. It's very interesting watching some of these where you found a lot more truth.
World Trade Center 7 collapsed because of fires fueled by office furnishings. It did not collapse from explosives or from fuel oil fires.
As reported by the New York Times, engineers were baffled by the collapse of Building 7. Since no steel frame high-rise has ever completely collapsed due to fire, how are we to understand this mysterious event?
High-rise buildings simply do not collapse due to fire. There has never been until 9/11 an experience where a high-rise building that was steel frame completely collapsed. There have been fires burned longer in similar structures without any collapse.
In this test, done by British Steel in 1995, a large amount of typical office furniture was burned to see what would happen to the heavy steel beams that supported the ceiling.
It's not that it melts in a fire. In fact, normal fires are not hot enough to melt steel. Even if you were, for example, to use an unusual fuel like kerosene, you cannot achieve temperatures hot enough to melt steel. But what happens is it starts to lose its strength. And as it loses its strength, it starts to sag.
This was the largest test of its kind ever conducted. It showed how unprotected steel can be distorted even by a normal office fire. But as is typical in steel buildings, the structural beams only slowly and progressively warped and sagged. There was no chance of a sudden collapse.
In my previous career as a firefighter, normally you'd never be afraid to go into a type 1 building because they're not combustible, and you would just charge at it and put the fire out. Never in my training were we ever taught that these type of buildings could just collapse in on themselves. There's definitely much more going on than just fire.
The World Trade Center 7 building reminds me of the Meridian Bank building in some ways in Philadelphia. The Meridian Bank building is a 38-story skyscraper that burned for 18 hours in 1991, suffered extensive damage from the fire, but did not collapse.
NISC tells us that this collapse mechanism, starting with thermal expansion, that worked its way upward and outward through the building, in a matter of seconds, there's not enough time for the building to collapse the way that NISC tells us it collapsed.
NISC claims the fires were very large, very hot, and long-lasting, when in reality, observation, which has been researched by many people, shows these fires did not last very long. They were not in the locations where NIST claims they were at given times.
I'm a fellow of the American Institute of Architects. For the 40-plus years that I've been practicing architecture, I have designed a variety of buildings from small houses to high-rise office buildings. Some of the high-rises that I've worked on are 1-shell and 2-shell here in Houston. I was project manager for a 22-story office building in Akron, Ohio. Later in the day, when World Trade Center 7 collapsed, they had already showed us pictures of a few fires in that building, and I mean, they weren't even raging. And how could that cause a building to collapse as if it were imploded? Couldn't happen.
A lot of us, especially a lot of us, period, but especially people who were affected greatly, as we all were, especially with some of the acts that followed, which is why what's going on right now, people kind of call like the second, those three numbers, it is concerning. But, like for me, I was 17, a senior in high school. I had, Division I scholarship potentially. At least they were coming to watch me play, in particular Northeastern. And I joined the Navy instead as a cryptologist. And I am just so happy when I found this, when they just released this the other day, this report that, I bet you that some of the people that we just saw in that video, funded and added to this report, which is much more extensive and actually tells the truth about WTC 7. So although we had a lot of videos like this that kind of told us and we had an idea, now we have proof. All right, so take this. take this document, a structural revaluation of the collapse of World Trade Center 7, which I put in the live chat. It's also in the description. Also in the description, there's ways to donate. I want you guys to save that offline, save it on a thumb drive. This is proof. And then you can go through the evidence and compare it with the NISC. I did a lot of that, and it's proof. It's undeniable proof that not only were we lied to about this, but I'm just talking about building number 7, by the way. Like I said, I want to stick to building number 7. Whatever other conclusions you draw, somebody with more resources than I can maybe draw some other conclusions. But as far as what I'm putting out there, stick to the World Trade Center 7. Stick to this report and look at what it tells you, because it's fact and it's not disputable. You look at what NISC, how far they went, and then you look at how far this report went, and it's not even close. It's not even, you can't even begin to compare the two. We actually have, not just videos, but now we have a video like this with the report. I skimmed through the whole thing, but I also made sure to put a link to it. And I hope that you guys can use that. And it's just another step towards truth, which is what I try to do on this channel. I try to stick to the facts. And this report reports the facts of what happened with World Trade Center 7. And if they're lying about that, I think we can connect some other dots as well. However, I do want to stress that a source did tell me that this building was wired for demo to save lives. So you can take that or leave it. That is what I was told by a source. But regardless, we've been lied to. We knew we were being lied to, but now we have an extensive report that's more extensive than the NISC report, made up by actual architects from around the country who funded it themselves through their universities, through their own money, and they finally just released this. But it's just they released it because it was ready. About a year ago or a year and a half ago, they did a presentation on it, but they didn't have like the final report done yet because they wanted to touch all bases. That's why it took 4.5 years. And I also kind of find it odd that it took 4.5 hours for this to collapse as well. Kind of weird. Exactly 4.5 years to report, exactly 4.5 years. Maybe they symbolically released it on this date for that reason. But of course, nobody's hearing about it. Nobody's reporting on it because of obvious distractions. So I wanted what I've been trying to do through this virus, although I do have videos coming up that are strictly on the virus, not the things that you've heard over and over, but things that I know you haven't heard. That'll be my next video, but I want to leave that aside because I think this is potentially the most important video I've done. And I've broken stories about, I broke the story about when Baghdadi was dead, when where and when Q would come back, the exact day of. There's been many when all those Mormons were killed in Mexico. They thought it was just such a horrific story, and that was it. And because I have great sources, I was told by a source, hey, there's still 2 more women that are missing. But according to what the mainstream media was telling you, all the families were accounted for. Well, I took a lot of flack for one night until the next morning when they said, oh, special operations just found the 2 women with a guy with a bunch of unloaded clips, meaning he was one of the shooters shooting at children and women. It was all women and children. And they rescued 2 women who were being raped constantly and things like that, horrible things, but they saved them. And all of a sudden people say, well, how did you know that? Well, you know, there's been a lot of things like that on my channel, yet I still think that this, because of what it represents and what a pivot in history that this was, and what a pivot in history that we may be experiencing right now, it just shows you the facts that they twist and try to make, and they'll do these reports. And if people get together and we fund and we really actually take experts and there's been experts who have been offed. There's a whole list of experts who've been offed. There's a whole list of microbiologists who've been offed. By the way, I am in no way suicidal. I am one of the happiest men on earth as far as my family and some core supporters in my channel. But I just thought that this was very important. I know it's very important, I should say. And like I said, in the description, there's ways to donate, but more importantly, you can find the link. I also put the link in the live chat. If anyone's having trouble with getting the link to this full report, so you can go through it page by page yourself and vet it for yourself, don't take my word. The report speaks for itself. That's the great part. That's why I sat on it for days, because I was looking through, I was cross-referencing, and it all plays out. And it proves that whole caused by fire thing was impossible. And like I said, we've heard it in these little videos, but we never saw it compiled in such an extensive report with data like we just did. So with that, that's the Red Pill Dispensary. Red Pill signing off. Thank you guys for tuning in, and share. This information needs to get out there. There are way too many people that need to wake up. And while everybody's home and they're not working and they're starting to get skeptical of things, this is the perfect type of red pill that can wake people up. Red Pill News Dispensary. Oh. All right, guys. Prep up, pray up, and stay frosty. Hoo-yah.